You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous.
Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
born wild.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. We're your hosts, Sophia
and Aly.
And everyone else is kind of dropping like flies. We had an interview scheduled for today, but we had to reschedule it. So we just figured we'd hop on here and give some updates. It's been a while, I think, since we've done an update, and just see if we're actually going to post this or not. We have no idea what we're going to talk about. Oh, shoot, I have the key. Okay, so yeah, let's start with Aly. Do you have any check-ins, or do you want me to start?
Check-ins. I guess,
How's life?
Life is crazy and wild, but good. My kids, it's been a little dramatic with school for my kids, but I finally have them all in school this week, which is amazing. One in one school and two in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Started dating. It's been a little while.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
How is your school?
Actually, my school is going good. I finally have been getting homework assignments done.
And that helps.
That helps feel like I'm moving forward in that. So yeah, it's good.
Cool. I have a laundry list of things that I wonder when I wrote the first one down. First of all, forgive my cough. I've had a cough for over a month now. So I'm still trying to get 100% better.
I'm used to it, but
yeah,
everyone else might not be.
I'm no longer sucking on cough drops to the point where my tongue feels like it's going to bleed. So that's good. Improvement. Yeah, so some of the notes I wrote down Fundal massage, and I can't even remember why I wrote that down. Maybe just to remind everyone that it's not necessary. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you know about?
Why is it not necessary?
It's just not. Anything that is that painful is not necessary. No, I mean, I can think of one time where I have done actual fundal massage and taught somebody how to do it because of bleeding. Other than that, we usually just don't even touch bellies. Unless we have a concern. And our go-to is usually to teach moms how to feel what's normal. But yeah, it's just one more way that some providers make women feel like they couldn't have done it without them.
It doesn't really seem optional in the hospital.
No, yeah. And I think too, if we have families that have birthed elsewhere and then are birthing in our practice, there's this either they go to oh, you don't have to do that, when they realize we're not going to, or they're I really don't want that unless it's necessary. They feel like they have to advocate for themselves, and we're don't worry, you don't have to fight us on that one, we don't really do that. So yeah, it's a tool that should be used when necessary, but it shouldn't be this routine thing. And if it turns out a midwife is only doing it when necessary but finds that she's doing it over and over and over again, it's okay, you need to reevaluate what you think is necessary, because I rarely ever do it. Yeah, so that's my fundal massage rant. And can we rename it massage? It seems misleading. Fundal torture.
Fundal poking.
Fundal poke torture. That's what we're going to rename it. I have another note that is asking about advice for beginning midwives. Oh, I don't know why I wrote that down, but somebody must have like
I'm
asked
curious.
me
Do tell me,
something.
Sophia.
Yeah. Prevalent for you. I'm gonna think on that one. I'm gonna come back to that one.
Okay.
I have a fun story. It's a story of triumph. Leah and I were both at a birth. We tag teamed a birth. It was a private client of hers, and she was with them, I don't know for how long, but a long time. And she reached out to me because she recognized that she was not the midwife she was when she showed up, and that it was one of those births where it's like all hands on deck the whole time. There's no time for like, oh, I'll go rest while you give labor support and we'll tag team and we're all well rested. Like that's always our goal when we have a team.
Mhm.
But it was like the whole team the whole time was on and everyone was petering out. And Leah was like, I can't like think clearly anymore. I have no new ideas, and this has been going on a long time. And the baby is still really high. They'd been pushing for couple hours and the baby was still really high. And so I came and brought fresh energy and ideas and
Sophia to the rescue.
well, just like, if I could have been in that situation, just like knowing that she had someone she could reach out to and because she was like, I'm embarrassed to admit, but like I'm thinking about transport, even though nothing's wrong. It's just that I'm teetering out, and so it's such a benefit for our family is that we have this group practice. It's just like it keeps reassuring me like this is such a good move because not only was I able to spell Leah, but I was able to give like new resources to this family and new energy so that they could keep going because they were clearly not ready to transport. I mean, we didn't even bring it up, but they would have said so if they wanted to.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And so we did a bunch of spinning babies and stuff like that. And she ended up pushing for 12 hours and she had her baby at home vaginally and it was all hands on deck. And she's a Kaiser nurse. And I remember afterwards I checked in with her like, what was going through your head? Were you nervous for your baby? Were you scared? Were you thinking I can't do this? Were you like just where were you? And I asked if she was ever considering transporting, like did it cross her mind? And she said, absolutely not. It didn't even cross my mind to transport. I was not going in, which I think as a nurse speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Like she was like, absolutely not. So, and just like, if we were following like guidelines or policies or standard of care, anything, like she would have gone in, but nothing was wrong with her. Nothing was wrong with baby. And we just kept going and she was willing and to keep going. And since then I've heard through the birth network that there was another mom who pushed for about 12 hours at home, ended up transporting, and I don't know what hospital, I don't know the whole story, but pushed for another 10 hours at the hospital and had her baby vaginally.
Wow.
22 hours.
Wow,
It's
amazing.
not right now. Yeah, 22 hours. So, but it's just like, it just like broadens our scope of what's possible and what normal can look like, and not this whole like 2 to 3 hours or even 5 hours or whatever that like, oh, well, if it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. It's like, as long as baby and mom are okay and like she wants to keep going.
And how resilient they are.
Yeah,
babies can handle that.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I was just like, oh God, like please come out and be good, when you come out. And that baby just came out crying and reassured everyone. And it was so awesome. And I remember being like, okay, I'm biased towards chiropractic. Everyone who follows this should know that by now, but I let everyone know. But I'm like, there was a lot of manipulation, like vaginally to try to like make space for this baby, which if anyone knows me, I'm very hands off, but this felt very needed and necessary. And just trying to like put pressure on the vagina where the head would be if the head was down lower, and like just little by little the baby would navigate down. I think somebody had once called it like finger forceps, but but it was mainly
It's
on
not
the,
a great
no,
time.
it was like mainly on the mom's left side. If I put my fingers just inside her vagina and just put pressure on the left side of her vagina, the baby would just like tiny bit move down. And it was just like over hours of doing, that off and on, the baby navigated down. But so I was like, obviously baby was like acing clinic, and I was like chiropractic, like those babies might do well with that. And I was like, and you should consider it too, like she hadn't had chiropractic in her pregnancy, but I was like, this labor was so long.
Right.
And so the whole family was seen and it was so great. And the chiro, I saw her one day and she was like, Dad needs it more than mom and baby need it. So the whole family is getting put back together.
It's a rough experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was beautiful to witness. And then what else do I have on my list? Yeah, there's just been like a lot of loss floating around in my life. I have a client that Leah and I witnessed their son be born 2.5 years ago. And during this last big storm, a tree fell on their home in Occidental and he was killed. And so I just went this weekend to his ceremony of life, and it was just amazing. And maybe a lot of people say that, but the piece that was amazing to me is how the family was willing to like walk up in front of everyone and share their whole process, and like how they were able to just like confess, like the first night they just cried and talked and told each other secrets that they had never told each other, things they had lied about to each other, or just broke their relationship down to like bedrock, and then decided to come back together and like be stronger together. And the pastor at the ceremony of life was like, walked with a lot of people who have lost children, and it either leads you to like suicide, depression, and like destroys your relationship and your life.
Yeah.
Or he sees this where it brings them closer together. And it just felt like this like honor to witness them. And when she was pregnant, they had gotten married but hadn't had like a big ceremony, and so they like redid their vows and got married in front of everyone. And it was just like, yeah, so I mean, obviously touching, but just like those extra things were just like so beautiful to witness. And
how old was he?
He was 2.5. Yeah. So yeah, just like little reminders that nothing's guaranteed, and just like just keep living your life to the fullest. And then I recently supported a family through a second trimester loss. They decided to have their baby at home, and as hard as it went luckily and gratefully as smooth as it could be. A couple hours of labor, some pushing, and placenta came without issue, which is usually one of the biggest concerns that I was reading about. There can be like high incidence of retained placenta. So we just kind of had a plan in place, my research that I did was ideally within a half hour it comes out, which is just standard for all placentas. But it was even saying like up to 4 hours it could take. And so we had just kind of said that we would really keep an eye on her bleeding and make decisions as they went about the placenta. But it came out within a half hour, and she had hardly any blood loss and felt, physically really good. And so just been supporting her through this. It's just like a first for me personally. Yeah, it's just like the losses at each stage. It doesn't matter if it was like earlier than someone else's loss. It's still, she held her baby and it was her baby.
Still a loss.
Yeah. 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 I wrote down that wasn't that bad birth. And I know exactly what birth that was. Aly and I went to a birth where we just barely made it. Second time mom. She had actually decided partway through her care to end care and decided to go back to the hospital. She, if my memory is right, it was about like that they have midwives at the hospital. We're just trying to save money right now. And I was like, totally understand, no problem. And then I saw her maybe a month or so later, and she decided to come back. She said, "You just had the best hug when you hugged me." And she had one appointment and was like, "No, I'm not going back there." So I was so glad that she had her baby. The baby's head was out for about 6 minutes before the rest of the body came. And then he took about 4 minutes to breathe. And I remember in that moment thinking, like, this is why I'm here, because, you know, people were checking in with me, like, should we get him out? Like, is it okay? And I was like, yeah, that's, I mean, other than getting to witness a birth, because it's amazing and beautiful. Like, I want to be there for the reassurance, like to just give him his time to come out on his own, give him his time to take his first breath. There's no rush, there's no emergency, versus families maybe feeling panicked because of expectations of what birth should look like and how quickly babies should be born or breathe or
well, especially the partner. I mean, he kind of was looking at you like
why isn't this baby breathing? And he even said, like, even with my reassurance, he was like, I want this baby to breathe. Yeah. Everyone's always just so relieved once the baby starts crying. But really, if nothing is wrong and the baby is continually to look better versus like get worse, you know, just, and the cords attached and pulsing, like there was no difference of that baby outside and not breathing from when he was inside and not breathing, you know, other than not being in water. You know, that like nothing has changed other than he's on the outside. Like, so if the placenta's out, cord is flat and white, there's no, like, then, you know, he should be breathing. But as long as that's going, like, there's no difference. You know, we weren't panicked for 9 months, you know, that he wasn't taking a breath. Like, we can give him 4 more minutes.
The design works well.
It does. It really does.
It was kind of miraculous that we made it to that birth.
Yes, it was. Yeah, we won't talk about how quickly I was driving. Not allowed to talk about that anymore. But anyways, after she gave birth, she said, "Oh, that wasn't that bad."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's..."
Well, and they had talked prenatally. It was like, we're good, like 2 babies. Yeah. And then when she said that,
I know, I was like, "Uh-oh."
Oh, you're having more.
You're gonna have it. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about is recently I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe I should get AAA, because my car is it's not even old. I was going to say it's a little bit older, but it's just,
she's been well used.
I use her well. Yeah. She's thoroughly loved, but maybe I need to like slow down a little bit. And not even talk about like how quickly I drive or anything, but just like recently I took a corner too tight. Hit a curve, popped my tire. I was like, "You're an idiot, Sophia. Why'd you do that?" And it was at night. And so I got it towed, but I wasn't going to be able to get it fixed till the morning. And normally I'd be like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to like get all this stuff out of my car. I gotta like get it into my husband's truck. If I get called to a birth, he won't be able to go to work if I have his truck, and it's going to cost me $50 every mile, you know, to get where I'm trying to get to." But instead I just called Leah, said, "Pop my tire. Can you take call?" She's like, "Yeah, no problem." So she was on call until the morning. And then I was like, "Hey, my tire's better." And it was just like such a relief for me just to know, like, I didn't have to panic. I didn't need to stress about all this. Nobody went into labor, but if they did,
you got it covered.
Yeah, somebody's going to show up. And so it was just like one more win for this partnership that we're doing. And yeah. I think we should chat about the birth centers, because that's kind of been a big thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to, just for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, maybe give like brief what we know about it?
Yeah, so the Santa Rosa Birth Center is now only supporting hospital birth. So they are offering prenatal postpartum care while women stuff at the Santa Rosa Birth Center, but all the births starting this month, February, will be at the hospital.
Mhm.
And that's a huge change for our community.
Mhm. Yeah.
Especially like the birth center as a whole did a lot of Medi-Cal, like they accepted Medi-Cal insurance and was a really awesome option for a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah. And we sat on a panel of experts to talk about it. And it made so much sense why they were making this shift. You know, Elizabeth had kind of said
Like the
how
financial
how they're not making more money than they were 10 years ago, but there's, you know, spending more. Like it costs more. Everything costs more.
And they were also having a hard time, like because of the financial stuff, not being able to pay the midwives what they deserve and having a hard time keeping.
Yeah, they said the turnover was really high. So
yeah, and they're just kind of they feel like this is a good
yeah, the only thing that we
option.
felt could have been handled maybe differently was giving families more heads up. You know, like I know Thrive is closing, the other birth center, and they're saying, you know, in 5 months. So maybe there could have been a transition where, you know, anyone who joins care after this stage will be delivering in the hospital with our support, and we're like grandmothering everyone else in who's already part of
care. That we're planning to have their birth.
Yeah, because I think that was the hardest part, was families were just like, I'm due now, or you know, in 2 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, and they were
all
just
of a sudden
scrambling.
their plans are completely changed.
Yeah, and like even if somebody's insurance does reimburse for home birth, like if that was something they decide to do, they still have to come up with costs up front, you know. So
and it's stressful to be forming a relationship with a midwife that you're planning to birth with, and then all of a sudden realize like, now I gotta find someone else, or what am I doing?
Yeah, so that's kind of been the biggest news in our community lately. We had our family gathering recently, our spring gathering. We have gatherings every 3 months. And it was really great. We had somebody do massage and we had some snacks there. I would say my favorite part was watching my kids start to play with kids that I watched be born. You know, it's just so sweet to see them.
And special.
Yeah, it was really, really cute. And like my son, I had brought him to a first birthday party for a baby I had watched be born. And at the birthday party, he like wanted to sing happy birthday, but he was like, but I want like everyone's attention. Like he wanted to do it on his own, and he sang and somebody drummed, and it was great. But like since that, every time he's at a family gathering with this child, he like gravitates towards him, you know, and he's like walking, holding his hand. And even though he's like, you know, 1.5 and my son's 7, it's like his little buddy. That's, you know, sweet. Yeah, it's really cute. So we're looking forward to the next one.
When is the next one?
Oh, actually, so this one was the winter gathering. So the next one's spring. It's in April. Yeah. Our stats for the year, I wrote that down. Let me try to pull it up.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it was still my private practice in 2022, but I wrote down a couple stats. So 35% of my families were first-time moms. We only had 1 cesarean last year, so it was like, it gave me the statistic of 3%. 60% of births were water births. We only had 2 transports, so it was 7%. Still 0% Pitocin use. Yay. The average baby weight has gone down since last year. It's 8% now, or 8%. It's 8 pounds. It was like 8.5. So it must have had some peanuts born this last year. We had 4 VBACs, 100% success rate.
Awesome.
19 boys and 18 girls. So
Wow.
pretty even. And I feel like if my memory's right, every year it's like one off.
50-50?
Yeah, it's like pretty close. 7 documented hemorrhages by like based on estimated blood loss, but nobody transported, nobody needed Pitocin. 3 surprise breaches. So yeah, those were my stats for the last year. Aly and I did a hemorrhage webinar.
A webinar.
Yeah, is there anything that you remember about that webinar? I have some notes that I took because my brain is like a goldfish now, doesn't retain.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this, like the most interesting part was like how they see the statistics.
Yeah,
and what
how
that
they
actually
interpret
means,
it.
how they interpret it. Right.
Yeah, because they were presenting the data and both of us were like, oh, that means this and it's because of this. But then they would say, oh, and it means this and it's because of this, like the complete opposite of where our brain went. We were like, wait, what? And to give specifics, do you remember?
Not exactly.
Yeah, it was
they're talking about like anticipating a hemorrhage, like midwives that preemptively did something
like preventative measures. If they did preventative measures, the women were more likely to
have a hemorrhage, right? And the way they were saying it is that midwives are like intuitively knowing that a hemorrhage is coming.
Yeah, and or that they are doing such a good job at recognizing the signs and being proactive that the hemorrhage potentially would have been more if they hadn't. But when they were first saying the information, we were like, oh my God. So women midwives who are maybe more scared and are like more nervous and trying to be more proactive and more fearful of hemorrhage are potentially causing it. And that was not the conclusion they came to. So we were like, interesting. So it's funny how like the data can be skewed.
Yeah, or biased, or how you he was looking at it.
So some of the notes I took were induction methods, even the more like quote unquote natural methods.
Oh yes, all of them
increased your risk of hemorrhage. I wrote, if you're trying to prevent it, you're more likely to cause hemorrhage, because that's what we took away. But we're like chicken or the egg, like I don't know how they can dig deeper into that to find out. What else? I think that was the biggest thing we took from it.
I think even that statistic of that even natural measures of trying to get labor to go increases risk of hemorrhage. Like, I just wonder why. Interesting.
Yeah, because it we've always
it's a hormonal thing, or
we've always known like women who are on Pitocin in their labor long term, are more likely to bleed. But
because of the receptors in the brain, how Pitocin interacts with our body compared to oxytocin is different, which makes sense to me. But even like the natural things, like what a membrane sweep, or castor oil, how does that?
I'm like, don't touch your nipples, and like how, like what were all the natural methods?
I don't know. I'm very curious.
What else is on my checklist? I went to Disneyland. I was able to take time off call and do our first planned vacation. We did like an impromptu couple days to Tahoe once, where I was like, I've got 3 days, let's go. But we planned a trip to Disneyland, and it was amazing. Other than I still had this stupid cough. You have to like apologize publicly when you cough in public. But yeah, it was great. I have a past client who's a Disney fanatic, and she gave me amazing advice. We got a double stroller for my kids, even though they're 7 and 6. Definitely the way to go. My husband's phone said we did 10 miles a day. It was like 24,000 steps. There's no way.
No.
We would have had to like take a lot more breaks. They would have just been whining. They probably have
right.
like
The
shin
mood would have been
splints.
changed.
Yeah. I actually have a memory of like in Disneyland having like shin splints or something
Oh, no.
as a kid. Like I have a vague memory. But it was great. It was really great. My son, because of all his health conditions, we were able to get him a disability pass where we could, on my app, like sign up for a ride. And instead of waiting in line for an hour, they just would tell you to come back in an hour. So we could do other things in the park instead of waiting in line. And then my dad was in a wheelchair because he hasn't like fully recovered from COVID for his lungs. And so we'd come back at a certain time. And then because of the wheelchair, they just like move us through the exit onto the ride for the most part. So the first day we did like 18 rides or something, which is
so epic.
So great. And we just like, I had more fun listening to my husband's reactions on the rides than my kids. He was so animated, and he was even saying, he's like, I haven't had that much fun just like playing in a long time.
Yeah.
So it was so good. We were exhausted and we had the best time. I just had a birth recently with our students Angela and Nina. It was her third baby, and she called me and 16 minutes later gave birth. So I was in the car on my way to her. And daddy caught, and we got there after and helped with placenta and all that. But it was really sweet because the dad was like, if we ever have another, I know we can do this on our own. And I was just like, yes, thank you. And he was saying how the other 2 births, he felt, what was the word he used? He just didn't feel necessary at all, that he just wasn't, he didn't feel like he was a part of the experience, know, his role was obsolete, and he just felt like, he caught his baby.
Yeah.
He was just like glowing.
Fully in it.
Yeah, really cute to see. Yeah. And then I was listening to a podcast recently. I haven't done more research on this, but have you heard that they're coming out with a GBS vaccine?
I heard about it. Yes.
What have you heard? Anything else?
Just listening to the Dr. Stu podcast.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I'm curious if anyone's listening to this, what your thoughts are on the GBS vaccine, whether you're a parent or provider. Yeah. And then we're circling back to advice for beginning midwives. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I have advice, but I feel like I've already given it to you. But I guess this is for the podcast. I mean, was there any advice? I'm going to throw it back to you. Was there any advice I gave you that you found really helpful so far? I remember when somebody told me to keep track of all my births, because you keep track during school, but then you kind of stop.
Right.
I remember feeling really grateful because I have kept track of every single birth I've attended. And I know exactly how many births I've attended, and it's fun to know that. I put it in my calendar on my phone and put some details, and I just hit like repeat every year. So it'll pop up in my calendar, and I can reflect on births I've been to in the past. I was looking to see if anyone was born today, but nobody was.
Yeah, I wish that I had kept track.
Yeah.
Duly.
Right. Yeah.
I think, well, for me, like I'm used to being on call from doing doula work for so long. So that definitely is helpful. But your advice of like having each day set up so that I kind of, because I have kids, knowing like what would happen in the sequence, like if I were needing to go to a birth, instead of like the day of then calling my people and trying to figure it out, that it's more lined up. Yes. And reduces a lot of stress. Yeah.
And like every once in a while you might have to be, more proactive.
Have to kind of figure it out. Yeah. But
things.
For the most part, having it more set up
than
I had.
Yeah.
Was
Like
Super
if
helpful.
I ended up being gone for a week, it would be handled.
Right.
Yeah, I have it set up where it's like somebody would always have them at each point of the day, if I wasn't available.
Right.
I remember too, you know, because we've been slowly tweaking this over time. And there were times where I learned what didn't work for me. And what didn't work for me was any sort of attitude for my husband when I was leaving for birth,
Right.
or like any sort of awareness that he didn't have this handled or that he was stressed or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, and while I was at a birth, like I remember one time, I can't remember if it was my mom or it was probably my mom, I think, where she had let me know that my daughter, she was probably like 1.5 or 2, she had a fever. And my heart was so torn when I was at that birth. You know, I remember feeling like I wanted it to hurry up so I could get home to her. And I was like, stop thinking that way, you know? And so I told them later, I was like, unless you're telling me something because you need me to come home, like you need me to come, like tell me when I get home. If there's nothing I can do, you know, like don't tell me when I'm gone because I can't have anything distracting me or making me want to like rush this process.
Right.
So that was really helpful. And then for a while, Spencer and I would check in after every birth, like what didn't work, you know, like where do we need to still tweak things? And yeah, that was really helpful. And we have it pretty dialed in now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time though, when my phone, I had it on silent, but I saw that my mom was calling me and she knew I was at a birth because I text them all heading to a birth. I'll let you know when the baby's born.
Right.
And I was like, uh-oh. Like they know the rule, you know?
Right. So then what's happening?
Yeah. And my husband was helping her move an armoire and something shifted and it cut off like the whole pad of his thumb. And she's like, I brought it with me. Should we go to the hospital and try to reattach it? Or like, I was like, oh my God. I was like, my mom's a really queasy person around blood too. I'm like, the fact that she picked up the pad of his thumb and brought it home.
Oh, that's dedication. Well, did they have to reattach it?
No, they didn't. And we healed it really well. And if anybody needs advice on that, my husband like has heard almost everything.
She has it in a note.
I have a note. I have notes for everything. Yeah. So what else? That was a hodgepodge of information today, but
the download.
Yeah, that's everything. I have my notes are all checked off now. I've talked about everything. Yeah, we're done.
You've been informed.
Until next time. Thanks.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram. For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA.
Sophia at sophiabirth.com. And me, Leah, at Bay Area Home Birth.
We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always, stay wild.